Hi there, my name is Neil Bolger from A2 Efficiency, and today we're going to be talking about the California Energy Code, also known as Title 24, 2025. The code just came into effect in January, and with it came a lot of exciting changes. I'm going to hit on the highlights, which what I'm calling today is not everything, just the good stuff. There's a lot of great presentations out there already and a lot of great summaries, I'm sure, for each and every one of you that you can dive into all the great details on. But for those who maybe just want to see some of the key changes, this presentation is for you. So the big ticket items as we saw them for the code change really this year is these 7 things here that I'm going to go over. The first one is just the restructured code. There's actually a new restructured format that is available. It's not the legal code, it's just another version they're trying out that in theory should become the way the code is structured in the next cycle. But it's actually probably the most exciting change that's coming. We'll then talk a bit about the embodied carbon documentation, which is actually now part of Part 11, but we still sometimes think about it when we refer to Title 24. Balanced ventilation in multifamily, this is now a requirement, some big changes there. Multi-zone HVAC systems being required to be all electric. This is not all multi-zone systems, it's not all buildings, though it is offices and schools. We'll talk about that. Heat pump water heaters in small schools, just again, just to show where are heat pump water heaters coming into non-residential code. You can obviously install them now, but where are you required to install them prescriptively? And then number 6, simultaneous mechanical heat recovery. Probably the most complicated requirement added to the code. We're going to unpack that and share a bit about how would that apply and what are some examples to try and get people to be familiar and feel like they might understand the tipping points for when it's required. I'm not even sure I do, but we'll try. And then a small one, but a good one, mandatory vestibules is now in code. I think I even have another one in here about hot water temperature, but we'll get to that when we get to it. So diving right in, even before we get to the restructured code, for any experts out there that are looking for a really great summary for either the non-residential or the multifamily code changes, these links I've shared here from the Energy Commission are 2-page PDFs, one for non-res, one for multifamily, that just goes through a bullet point list of changes to the code, which there is a lot more nuances to some of these code changes, obviously, though I really thought this was a great way for anyone who's already familiar with the energy code, maybe an energy code consultant, someone that's been doing this for a while, trying to get just a flavor of, well, where are the major changes and to what degree, and where there's some nuanced small changes, right? So this is a great document to do just that. You can read it really quickly because it is only 2 pages and just have some knowledge that you can go to maybe before you start your first 2025 project. So that's it for my overview. We're going to go ahead and dive right into the first one of these. All right, so the first one up is this optional restructuring, and this is a really big deal. So for those of you who love energy codes or just codes in general, you might be familiar with the fact that the Energy Code Part 6 has a really interesting organizational structure, right? There's 12 chapters, there's sections in each of those chapters, there's subsections that use A's or numbers or I's, and there is just basically there's just not consistency, right? And it's not only a numbering consistency thing, it's also the structure of this energy standard. An energy code by nature is kind of a strange code because it covers requirements that touch other systems, right? It touches envelopes, it touches lighting, it touches plumbing systems for efficiency. So by its nature, it's already strange, but then it just gets sort of even worse when we start to say, well, some things you must always do, mandatory. And then there's some prescriptive things. And then there's even more prescriptive things. So the new reference structure shown on the right is this amazing new section, which the authors who did this did just an amazing job. They surveyed a bunch of experts in the field, asked them for their opinions. Now what we have is a code where there's general provisions, there's definitions, and then each section of the energy code is a major system in the building. Envelope, HVAC, plumbing, electrical, and so on. And so all your requirements, mandatory, prescriptive, all the building types, non-residential, single family, multifamily, they're all in section 400, right? So it just makes finding information, especially for the vast majority of people that might be using the energy code, a lot easier. And that vast majority, I sort of imagine that's someone who is asked to look something up, needs to find some information, but by and large is not familiar with the energy code, right? You can imagine that's a lot more people, even if they don't use the whole code. They're asked by their senior manager, go find the plumbing code, see what kind of insulation we need to do. Well, where do I go? And how do I know that I have to look in 3 different sections of the current code if I've never even opened this thing before? So just as an example, right, where do you find this, right? So it is available if you go to the main energy code standard. You can find it's for reference only. It's not the official adopted version. Uh, but again, it's organized by building system, and it's just a great way to get more familiar with this itemized section of the code. It does include in parentheses throughout the reformatted version, the old existing codes reference section. And that's specifically for a code inspector who actually needs to find the exact section they're referring to or to relate it back to. So they've done a really great job of making this transitional document available. And just to give an example, right? So here it is. This is a section of the lighting code. You can see the new reference number 600, but then in this bracket, it goes back. This is actually in section 110.9a. And you can see throughout it when it references other sections of the code where it currently exists. This is actually a really great section, right? Because it's saying, hey, later on in section 601, you're going to need to do some things. Oh, and that used to be in sections 130, 130.5, 140, and 141. So a lot of different sections of the old code were pulled into like one single lighting requirement. And just again, if you were to look up multifamily lighting, previously you would have had to look at general provisions, mandatory measures by all buildings, mandatory measures by non-res or covered processes, mandatory by multifamily. There might be some overlap. Sometimes they refer to this one. And then finally, prescriptive by multifamily. Now in the new one, you can just go general provisions and then straight down to electrical lighting. All the requirements are right there. All right. Oh, here's my direct link to where to find this amazing version. So on the main homepage, you have the official code language is the main button you'll find. Well, right down below it is this restructured code. That's what it's called, the restructured code. So go take a look, see if that works for you. Read both over a nice cup of tea and really live into the future of this wonderful restructured code. They still, oh yeah, the last thing, they still have this great table 100. We still love this table. If you're not familiar with this table, it basically says exactly in what section is each one of the mandatory or prescriptive or now performance requirements defined for that system. It even has additions and alterations. Where can you find that information? Check it out. Again, my name's Neil Bolger at A2 Efficiency. We're going to pause here and then we'll dive into the rest of the subjects that we think